Did you call for me?
We were just talking about how you're a huge mystery,
Says the talking cat.
Third time's the charm. Let's try to make this year's Valentine's countdown actually good. What is it about Persona that makes it so interesting? Maybe it's the lovable characters. If it's not that, it's the gameplay. If it's not that, it's the deep narrative and storytelling. If it's not that, it's the music. Or if it's not that, you probably just want to play the games because of the waifus. The S&T series all in all have a fantastic lineup of beautiful women, whether it's from personality, writing, or just design in general. Now then, keep this in mind that I don't see most of these women in a romantical way. I know they're not real, that's not what this list is about. I'm just going to be talking about the 10 girls in Persona as a whole who I consider my favorites of the bunch. However, there are going to have to be characters who have to be cut. 1. No social link can teach your characters. Most of them are amazing and whom I do consider some of the best females in the series, but I'm only going to be talking about characters that have actual relevance to the plot instead of none. 2. Only from the Persona games I myself have played. So sorry Maki, Maya, Lisa, and Sophia. As much as I would love to put you 4 on the list, I haven't played your games yet. Which will also have to count from the characters from the versions of 3, 4, and 5 I played. Out of each of the games I have played, vanilla or enhanced, I've only played 3 Fez, 4 Golden, and 5. So no female MC from Portable and no Sumiya Yoshizawa from Royal. Well, I guess I'll reveal my true opinions now. It's not easy going through so many phases all at once in your life. Especially when you're the heir to a rich company, the student council president, founder of a team of unknown heroes, being part of the school's fencing team, and the school's valedictorian. Well, Mitsuru Kirijo surely is no slacker when it comes to life. Mitsuru is definitely a fan favorite among the Persona fandom, and I highly agree. She awakened to her persona Penophilia when she was just a small child who safeguarded her father and the guards when they were investigating Tartarus, because one of the guards transformed into a shadow and attacked his fellow workmates. At a young age, she has stood up against the shadows longer than every other member of SACE and trained on how to use her persona. She was the only persona user on the team for a long time, not counting Aigis, until she encountered Akihiko in middle school. She has a very motherly type attitude with her confident, responsible, intelligent, and mature personality, which you don't really see a lot in teenagers IRL, and it intrigues me to an extent. That being the case, she can also be overconfident, a bit arrogant, and cold-hearted, but she does have her reasons why. It could be shown in Persona 4 Arena where she doesn't trust Labras and Rise reminds her to put her trust in her. She's also not used to common folk activities such as eating burgers and ramen, and eating a burger without utensils because of her family's conditions. The shadows in the dark hour that appear every midnight were all because of the Kirijo group doing experiments at Gekukan High. Many researchers died in the explosion, such as Mitsuru's grandfather and Yukari's dad. Mitsuru herself has been keeping secrets from her team, leading Yukari to mistrust Mitsuru and finding out the truth for herself with assistance from Fuka. It was only during the vacation at Yakushima that Mitsuru's father, Takaharu Kirijo, had to show everyone what truly happened. Mitsuru's grandfather was the cause of the experiments, and Yukari's father, Eiichiro Takaba, was invited to do the shadow research, and this in turn caused Yukari to have an emotional breakdown and became more distant and irritable from the other members. Luckily, this problem was solved. Mitsuru may not have a lot of trust in others and can be a bummer at certain points due to her responsible personality, but she does know how to brighten up the situation and is a role model. When Mitsuru's father passed away when he was Shoppei Ikutsuki, the person Mitsuru trusted blindly for years, she lost her reason to fight and his will to live. She even felt that restoring the Kirijo group is pointless if she's the only remaining Kirijo of the family legacy. On the trip to Kyoto, luckily that Yukari knocks sense into her and Mitsuru will keep on fighting for her friends and her father, which in turn caused Penophilia to evolve into Artemisia. Mitsuru may have her duties and responsibilities and she does act like an adult most of the time, but deep down, she's still just a teenager. She may be busy with everything she's got in her life with a Korean group cease in school, and she is the one that sometimes puts the team in high spirits, but deep down, she's incredibly flawed and at times needs caring too. Nobody is perfect, we can't do everything. Trust may be a two-way street, but it takes us a while to actually trust someone. Out of every single character on this list, I feel as though Mitsuru is one of the most mature of the whole Persona series. Just make sure you don't get one of her executions, otherwise you'll probably get Bufu-dined on by Artemisia. One thing I really love about Persona 5 is how each villain arc is somehow related to each of the Phantom Thieves that were introduced, or just get a main role later on in another arc. Examples I can give are Yusuke Kitagawa being a pupil for Madarame, and Haru Okumura being the daughter of, well, Okumura. However, to me, the most unique arc in my opinion comes with the fourth arc in the game, Futaba's mother issues. Futaba is the youngest member of the Phantom Thieves, being a somewhat stepsister to our protagonist, and of course has the darkest and most depressing backstory of every member in the group. She is a mentally ill girl who suffered from severe suicidal depression and social anxiety. She also gets freaked out when unknown people enter the house, and she's also a shut-in for reasons. But the main one is that she lost her mother when she was young and felt traumatized and frightened. This in turn would also affect her cognition inside the cognitive world and causes her shadow to have a somewhat helpful personality, since Futaba was the one who asked the Phantom Thieves herself to steal her heart since she contacted the leader Joker under the alias of Medjed. After stealing the treasure of her desires and decides to join the Phantom Thieves, she's now lost the trauma of her mother's death and the suicidal thoughts she's had on her for years and started to go outside and officially join the Phantom Thieves. She still isn't good at socializing, but with the help of her supposed quote-unquote stepbrother Joker, she starts to become more confident in the world around her. Futaba reminds myself of me in some ways. She's a gamer, she loves watching anime, and she barely goes outside. She's at the lower spot because while her arc is good and her development is fantastic, unfortunately she does say some things that slightly annoy me. And of course her dungeon is both annoying and boring despite having some fun and emotional moments. But I do love the fact that she teases Yusuke and nicknames him Inari, and I only see them as friends and not as a ship. She's one of the bright-spirited members of the team because of her cheerful and teasing personality. She teases a lot of people, from previously mentioned Yusuke to Ryuji, Morgana, and at some points her own father Sojiro. Also, Necronomicon has got to be, in my opinion, one of the most useful personas in the history of the series. Unlike the other support characters Fuka and Rise with Juno and Himiko, Necronomicon's main move is moral support, which will up either all allies' attack, defense, or speed with other moves such as Heat Riser and Meteorama. I love Futaba for a lot of reasons, but her character arc and the hard life she had makes me want to give her a hug. Persona 4's cast is quite unique, since every single one of the members in the investigation team are having problems facing who they are and accepting the truth about themselves. Which in turn, most of our members have their own dungeon with their own shadow, and their shadow can only be truly defeated if they accept themselves for who they are. Rise Kujikawa is especially a special case. Rise has been struggling accepting herself for an absolutely long time. She's well known for being an idol known as Rosette, her grandmother owns a tofu shop in Inaba, and having an obvious crush on Narukami even without doing her social link. Though that's nothing new since Persona 3 did this before. However, does she enjoy being Rosette? No. Does this make people love her? Yes. But the problem is that her fans only love Rosette, not for who Rise really is. And because of that, she takes a hiatus from the showbiz and decides to work at her family's tofu shop. She fears that she doesn't have a true self and that her career is making her lose sight of who she really is. Her dungeon's easily one of my favorite dungeons in the game, with some of my favorite dungeon music in the game. Just make sure you play through this dungeon without anyone in the room with you. And, like I said, Rise has an obvious Mondo crush on the main character, and because of her bold personality, she does this very consistently throughout the game, and Narukami just handles it like the frickin' Chad he is. And at certain times, she even teases Yosuke and Kanji, and in the enhanced version of the game Persona 4 Golden, with new features and a new character called Marie, if you decide to romance Marie to the max social link and beat her battle, Rise gets jealous from Marie hugging him, and Marie even teases her from hugging him longer, and call dibs on her for being her Valentine's partner. Like Futaba, Rise is a cheerful ray of sunlight and isn't actually a playable character, but is a supporting character. With the persona Himiko, she would assist the team in all-out attacks and at certain times would either buff or heal the party. Granted, while I do think Necronomicon is a better persona, I still think Himiko's a great persona. Not to mention that Rise is voiced by Laura Bailey, same woman who voices Blaze the Cat, Lucina, Sarah Ferron, etc. She has also grown to realize that despite the fact that Rise is just a fabrication of who she is, it's only one of her many personality traits and decides to return being an idol in spring. Rise is just such a splendid character overall. I know a lot of people consider her the weakest amongst the main 4 females in Persona 4, but she is without a shadow of a doubt, pun unintended, one of my favorite characters this game has had to offer, and Persona 4 has some damn great ones. Makoto Nijima is such a fantastic character. Like Mitsuru, she's a senior and the student council president, but she lives alone with her sister, Sai, but still holds up her responsibilities and wants to exceed her sister's expectations. She's also one of my favorite party members in the game with a kick-ass outfit, kick-ass fighting style, and a kick-ass persona that turns into a goddamn motorcycle. How sick is that? Also, she kinda has a crush on Joker, although it's mainly used for gags. Makoto is such a great character overall, but you wanna know something funny? I think her sister is better.
Done!
Yeah, I think I just triggered a bunch of Makoto fans, so... whoops. Sai Nijima is a woman in a business suit who is a prosecutor and defense lawyer that works for the Tokyo District Special Investigation Department with that goddamn SIU director, and later joins the Phantom Thieves, not like a party member but does assist them after hearing about Akechi's betrayal and the corrupted politician Masayoshi Shido running for Prime Minister. Sai's the older sister and legal guardian of Makoto after their father died, and it's pretty stressful since she's not only taking care of her and expecting her to get good grades, and working at the public prosecutor's office to solve the mystery of the Phantom Thieves of Heart. Like Futaba, Sai has her own palace in the game, and it's literally the best palace in the game. And unlike Futaba, she becomes detrimentally stressed by her work and is seriously hell-bent to win at all costs. By not believing justice exists, and because of her work and her father's death, she becomes a workaholic, and expects the best in Makoto, telling her to focus on her studies, and says a lot of rude things she doesn't mean, and sooner than later, her shadow and palace awaken, representing her disillusionment and retaliation to win, which the games we play in Sai's palace end up as unfair since she doesn't want us to progress forward unless we find out some sort of Uno reverse card. Like Futaba, Sai isn't a corrupt person, but because of how everything in life has been treating her, it was almost about time until she eventually lost all her sense of humanity. But it was because of Joker that taught her the meaning to live with herself, and she even said that the happiest moment of her life was saving him in court. Sensing some Joker and Sai shipping material here. Seriously, why bother giving us a Valentine's Day short for Sai if you're not gonna make her a romance choice in Royal? I love both the Nijima sisters mainly because they are without question the 2 most personal, relatable characters in video game history. But if I had to pick one, Sai is the better bae at the end of the day. While the investigation team investigates the motivations of the killer's intentions and finds out a reason as to why, they are always 3 steps ahead of the Inaba police force who have no clues of the killer and his or her motivation. Naoto Shirogane arrives in Inaba working with the police as the famous junior detective prince to assist in the murder spree. She pretends herself to be a boy to hide her gender because of gendered stereotypes of detective and misogyny in law enforcement. Naoto in due time started to become a workaholic like Sai by searching through files to crack the murder case, and eventually every member of the police force started thinking of her as a little child. And once we saved Naoto from a midnight channel and finally accept herself for who she is, she officially joins the investigation team and becomes the brains of the team while also being the most overpowered party member in the team. Her persona, Sukuna Hikona, is one of the most overpowered personas in the game because of one move, Mega Dolon, while also being able to unlock Mudo and Hama moves too. Despite everything she does, however, Naoto is still technically one of the youngest members of the team, and can still be shy and nervous around certain activities and moments. So she usually turns to the other members of the team to give her support. Being a detective is what she lives for, and wants to do it by avoiding the stereotypical things by giving up her feminine self to pass on as a man. And that's what I love the most about Naoto. She may be smart, but she is still vulnerable to anxiety about what everyone will think about her. We've seen this happen before to everyone else, but I feel as though Naoto really hits it one of the hardest. And while her dungeon, the secret laboratory, is a confusing and annoying dungeon to go through, it does represent her mentality to solve clues quite well, and the music represents her the best in the team. I have to say, out of every girl in the investigation team, Naoto Shirogane is easily my favorite. She's intelligent and introverted, she enjoys what she does for a living, she's nervous on what people will think of her, and I can't think of anybody else in any form of media who would give up the sex they were born as to join your dream job and avoid stereotypes. And all I have to say is, you are a golden character, Detective Prince. Persona 4 Golden adds a lot of things that enhance from the original game. Updated graphics, 2 new social links, character outfits, new music, and even expands upon the story after the battles against both the Killer and Amino Sagiri. But my favorite new feature in the game is adding a new character in the name of Marie. I know a lot of Persona fans hate Marie, and I can see why, but I would be lying if I said she's not my favorite girl in all of Persona 4. Let me explain. We meet Marie at the very beginning of the game when Narukami just arrived in Inaba and she picked up something he dropped and gave it to him. Then we meet her again in the Velvet Room learning that she just joined to be a resident alongside Margaret. And one of those 2 new social links added to Golden is of course Marie. In this link, Marie suffers from everyone's favorite trope, amnesia. And the only thing she has that could quite possibly be a part of her past, a comb made from old bamboo. However, on rank 9, she decides to brush off trying to find her memories and decides to create and store new memories with Narukami. And choosing to romance her and reaching max rank will unlock an additional story arc exclusively to Marie only. After Amino Sagiri is defeated, Marie calls out to Narukami in his dream saying to him she is leaving for the betterment of everyone. Margaret decides to help Narukami to locate Marie's whereabouts, and it turns out she's at the Hollow Forest, when we discover who Marie really is. Marie is known as Kasumi no Okami, who is a part of a power superior to Kunino Sagiri and Amino Sagiri combined. As it turns out, her objective was to spy on the real world to inform Sagiri about the wish of the people. If Amino Sagiri was ever defeated, the mist would absorb into Marie, in turn would overpower her and eat away at her life. This moment alone is why I love Marie, and we also get, which is easily my favorite boss in all of Persona history. Defeating her frees her from a fog and gains a bond to exist in the real world permanently. But that's not all. In the true ending, if you defeat Izanami, you meet Marie in the Velvet Room revealing that Izanami is a part of her and her true name is Izanami no Mikoto, who she protects humanity while also protecting humanity's wish. There's a lot to be going on when it comes to her, but I feel like her writing in the game is great. Not to mention, she's also a poet. Writing poems she accidentally drops in the Velvet Room, and we the player and Narukami accidentally reading them, and gets absolutely flustered and embarrassed and turns on her tsundere button. And I feel like Marie and you are the true canonical couple. While Risei's crush on Yu leads to some funny and awesome moments, she just falls for him right away and it feels a bit rather forced. But with Marie and Yu, it took a while for these two. Again, I understand a lot of people hate Marie, and if you do, that's fine. But to me, she is the definitive female in the entire game. After all, now that we're done with the Persona 4 girls and still got one left to talk about in Persona 5, now let's return to the timeline of pain and suffering in Persona 3. Many of Persona 3's women are fantastically written characters with awesome development throughout the whole game. We've already talked about Mitsuru just earlier, but now let's move onwards to the girl in Persona 3 that for some reason people like to make fun of, or just the fact that people find her an extremely forgettable character. We meet Fuka Yamagishi in Tartarus when she was locked in the school gym by Natsuki and her friends and she was missing for 10 days. But in Tartarus, since time is different, one day in the real world is 1 hour in Tartarus, so she was stuck in the labyrinth for 10 hours. Maps 101. Prior to joining SACE, Fuka Yamagishi was a shy and timid girl who doesn't speak up often, which made her an easy target for the school bullies like Natsuki Moriyama, who she ended up becoming true best friends with in the end. Fuka's easily the nicest person in the team because she holds no grudges against anyone and forgives people easily. Her kind nature is the main reason I love Fuka so much, and the fact she's just so cute. Out of everyone of the main cast, Fuka's honestly the least developed character, but at the same time, it's excusable since there isn't much you could do with Fuka, and if you tried, probably would have ended up as bad writing in my opinion, since Fuka's perfect the way she is. She's like Risei and Futaba, who supports from the background while also assisting in battle from the entrance with the persona Juno. Fuka chose to live at the dorm when Mitsuru gave her a choice, which in turn Yukari believes Mitsuru was sort of forcing her. But Fuka chose to live at the dorms and said she'd rather live there than with her parents. We don't understand why that is until we enter the world of her social link. Fuka has an inferiority complex which caused her shy nature to awaken, and the reason for that is because most of her family are doctors and they have an inferiority complex as well, since they are really adamant about keeping her grades up. While at the dorm, she feels like she could be of use to everyone, and she was absolutely right. She became a great friend with characters like Aigus, Yukari, Ken, and Koromaru. Like everyone, she herself has actions she regretted taking, like after Shinjiro's death, she blamed herself for not trusting her intuition since Shinjiro wasn't heading to the 10th and 11th shadow fight since he needed to take care of something first, and after that, Fuka remained in depression for most of the month. And in her resolution moment, she realized that the ability her persona gave her is through the connections of others. When Natsuki is being transferred to another school, and told Fuka that even if they're apart, the bond they consecrated will never be severed, and her persona Lucia evolved into Juno. A lot of people love to talk about how bad Fuka's voice acting is in Persona 3, but that's something that never bothered me no matter how many times I played the game. I love Fuka for many reasons. She's cute, sweet, shy, reserved. No matter how many people forget about you, Fuka, just so you know, I'll never ever forget you. Okay, now the top 3 Persona girls are also surprisingly my top 3 favorite Persona characters of all time. Throughout every character I've talked about, I mainly talked about their character depth and progression. If the development and writing is good, that's a good reason I will like them, if not love them. But I don't believe in Persona, hell, Mega 10 history, that anyone is better development than with Aigus. Cease ran into Aigus during their trip at Yakushima and she ran away from the lab, and Makoto Yuki, Junpei, and Akihiko ran into her during Operation Babe Hunt. Aigus is actually an anti-shadow suppression weapon, and she's known to be the last one in existence, though in the answer and arena we know that isn't the case. Her mission is eliminating shadows and to always protect and stay by Makoto's side. Okay, and that in turn would sneak into his room to watch him sleep to check on him, and confuses the entire class by saying the seat is perfect so she can still remain by his side, which in turn causes the entire class in a state of shock and makes Yukari absolutely jealous! However, because she's a robot, she doesn't feel emotions, but she can learn them, so we can't do a social link unless we progress very, very far into the story. Her bond with Makoto is strong that she hugs him in front of everyone, and when Aigis was reprogrammed by Ikutsuki, Makoto was able to overcome Ikutsuki's control over her to free the team. Her human shape allows her to process human thoughts, but is pretty lacking in social skills and emotions, which makes her far from passing as human. But what is her sole purpose for protecting him? During November, a new character called Ryoji Mochizuki transferred to Gekkoukan High, and Aiga suspected him as dangerous. But she can't explain her reasons and tells Makoto to be wary of him. But how does this mean anything for Aigis's mission for staying by his side? Well, 10 years ago in 1999, Makoto lost his parents in a car accident on the Moonlight Bridge during the Dark Hour, and at the same time, at the same place, Aigis was fighting Ryuji, who is actually deaf, the 13th Arcana, aka the Appriser for Nyx's awakening. And because Aigis knew that she couldn't win the fight and kill him, she found Makoto and used him as a vessel to imprison Ryuji. And after that, she went to sleep for several years. In December, after she again loses the fight against Ryuji at the beginning of the month and wakes up from being repaired by the Kirijo group, she starts to have feelings and becomes effectively worried for everyone. And the reason how this happened is that her artificial intelligence started to develop human emotions, but still does not understand them, but knows that she regrets imprisoning Ryuji, and saying if she never had to do that, no one would need to be suffering now. She starts questioning that if she can't defeat the shadows, then what's her purpose in living? But that's a question that only she can find alone through living. In the answer, after the protagonist's death, Aigis becomes the main protagonist for the story, but is having an existential crisis and once again losing her will to live since she always promised to stay by his side. She was so crushed that she didn't even attend his funeral since she's having a hard time facing him. The person she loves more than anyone else. But she realizes that strengthening the bonds of friendship doesn't mean the pain of living will stop, and can still fulfill her role to him. And the reason how Aigis was able to gain Orpheus and the power of the wild card is because she cared about him the most. And even Yukari admits it, who herself was also struggling dealing with his death since she secretly loved him and was jealous of Aigis for him seeing her just before he burned his dread entirely. I love Aigis because of her development. Not many characters in the series develop as much as Aigis. She, without a doubt, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest written characters, and also had one of the best character development not just in gaming, but in all of media. And that is enough to confirm her placement as one of my 3 favorite females in this series. Ever since the game was released, many of Persona 5's fanbase like to debate on which of the 4 main girls in the party is best girl. The top contenders are An and Makoto, and when Royal released, Samir went upwards to their rank. Futaba on the other hand lies behind them, but many still consider her the best girl. But as for me, best girl for me is none other than Haru Okumura. Whenever people think about her, they think about her screen time, and they say that we don't know much about her. And it's depressing because I just wish people could shut up about it. But then again, I understand absolutely why. Haru Okumura is a 3rd-year student at Shujin Academy and is the daughter of one of the game's villains, Kunikazu Okumura. She loves gardening, surprisingly horror movies, and kills shadows as stress relief. Yeah, while Haru is a sweet girl with a gorgeous voice, she is a very, very sadistic little floof. And I love her since she has 2 different personalities to her, one that many are unknown to. This beauty thief unfortunately had a marriage arrangement to Sugimura, a rich punk asshole, and she wants to cancel the marriage arrangements because of his attitude and personality. Unfortunately, the Okumura arc wasn't mainly about Haru. her arc was robbed when Morgana took the leading role, and she found Morgana and stayed by his side in the metaverse under the codename Beauty Thief, and was reluctant to join the Phantom Thieves because of how they treated him. Okay, that is fair. But after apologies and mistrust clear up, Morgana returns to the Phantom Thieves and Haru decides to help them by going under the name of Noir with her persona, Milady. She's actually one of my favorite party members to use in battle. Not only are Milady's moves fun to use, but they can also destroy enemies so easily. Sadistically satisfying. I'll admit something. Sure, we don't know much about Haru as we do with An, Makoto, and Futaba. I'll admit that. But we know much about her for many to sympathize with her, especially when her father was killed and Haru's screen time excuse is actually inexcusable since her arc starts 50 hours into the game and according to my time my playthrough ended, 83 hours. Not enough screen time, huh? Also, unknown to everyone, Haru had a secret crush on the protagonist, but it's only revealed if you do her social link. Haru is shy and reserved, but she's so sweet, cute, and surprisingly sadistic and terrifying with a gorgeous voice, that I enjoy her character more than the rest of the females. And because she's not number one, she's probably gonna grab the axe and use it on me.
Maybe I'll fetch the axe.
But before we reach number one, let's reach some honorable mentions. Makoto Nijima. She has the most badass persona and wears the most badass outfit. Her personality is like Mitsuru and could be Joker's true canon girlfriend. Chidori Yoshino. At certain points, she is relatable as hell, and listening to Storm for a Butterfly, a song from a Persona 3 movie, just makes me sympathize with her character and I wish that she didn't die. Justine. Both Caroline and Justine are great, but I prefer Justine just because she's kind of in Caroline but does share attributes to her. Chie Satonaka. Her tomboyish personality keeps the investigation team bright and spirited. Plus, she loves meat. Yukiko Amagi. She's kind of responsible with a fantastic dungeon, and she laughs about most things, which I don't know why, is just funny to me. And Izanami, the gas attendant who you meet at the very beginning of the game, turns out to be the mastermind behind the fog, and gives the power to enter the TV given to Narukami, Adachi, and Namatame. Jesus, Persona 4 has the best villains in the series. 2 years after the events of Persona 3 and the events of Persona 4, if you decide to face the secret boss Margaret after the fight, she says that her sister left the Velvet Room in order to free the soul who sacrificed himself to save the world. That sister is without question Elizabeth. Simply just even after 5 to 6 years since she started her quest, she's still on the verge of freeing Makoto. Probably wants to sleep with him. Yeah, I know your true intentions, Lizzie. You gain the power of Persona through the power of the wild card, and Igor and the Velvet Room attendants assist you in achieving your goal throughout the journey. And the Velvet Room attendants had been a feature in the series since Persona 3. No, Nameless, Belladonna, and Philemon don't count. Elizabeth is the attendant in Persona 3 and the very first one in the series. Since the attendant's purpose is to guide others through their journeys, they are completely unfamiliar and not that knowledgeable about activities, traditions, and events in the real world. So it is your purpose to take them out and have them learn about the real world through dates. Yeah, you can date the Velvet Room attendants. You can also face her in the game, but she's an optional boss, and from what I heard, she is one of the hottest bosses in all of Shin Megami Tensei history. Elizabeth is also someone who you do not want to take in public if you don't want to get embarrassed, but the dates are funny as hell. She uses up all her coins in the fountain, goes down the up escalator, gets stuck inside the jungle gym, and pretends to be a teacher. She just makes me laugh. After Makoto died and she helped Iga through her journey in The Answer, Elizabeth left the Velvet Room so she could find a way to break the Great Seal and free him, and from what I heard, she's been doing this for 5 to 6 years and she's still doing it. If there's any Persona game I want that isn't a remaster, port, or Persona 6, it's that I actually want Elizabeth to have her own game where she's on the final chapter of her mission to free Makoto and she would do so. Though, granted, I felt like that would mean she would have to take his place as the Great Seal since Nyx cannot be allowed to damn the world again. That's literally my dream Persona game. Atlas, Sega, if you ever see this, I love the Persona series with all my heart, so please, I want this game to happen. You could even send me 2 or 3 copies of the game. Wow, now I'm just ranting about my dream Persona game instead of talking about Elizabeth. She spent most of her life working as a Velvet Room attendant to determining to save a guest she consecrated some sort of bond towards and done so for years and is still doing it. These are the reasons why Elizabeth is my favorite character in all of Persona. She learns, she's strong, she's confident and kind, and whatever it takes, Elizabeth, the Arcana is the means by which all is revealed. I'm Use1 Campbell, and happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer? Every night, I can feel my leg, and my arm, even my fingers. The body I've lost. The comrades I've lost. Won't stop hurting. It's like they're all still there. You feel it too, don't you?
I will.
Spit it out like a spear, I'll burn the dread. No soul, robust, beat bust, justice to the man with no light. Tear up the fear, the end is coming in. Spit it out like a spear, I'll burn the dread. No soul, robust, beat bust, justice to the man with no light. No man ever survived. Invisible hands are behind you just now. If you ever been that bitch against beach, then you became cause it's no man's land. Real masters in heavy rain, also never fame. They shall stay, what they've done is in vain. Staring at you 47, 24/7, but you got 11 persecuted by heaven. Cause for the direction, no indication. You got to let it move first, let it out, let it down, let it inside, let loose, better let it jam to press. Let's get it up, then what you gonna do? Drop the hammer down, drop, run, drop, hammer, thinking like a labor. You got blood all over, ash all over, spit it out, some game's over. Tear up the fear, the end is coming in. Spit it out like a spear, I'll burn the dread. No soul, robust, beat bust, justice to the man with no light. Tear up the fear, the end is coming in. Spit it out like a spear, I'll burn the dread. Robust, beat bust, justice to the man with no